What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, as many of you know, once or twice a week, we like to make these videos in which we catch up on some of our favorite altcoins. And in today's video, we're going to do a quick recap of what's been going on with Solana, go over some recent August numbers that just released, and then, of course, what we're going to talk about is this massive buy signal that is printed on Solana's charts, because history will show you why it's so important. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's catch up on Solana. And also, please don't forget, if you do use the Margex link down below to trade some Solana, guys, you're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses. And the beauty of it is you don't need to KYC, meaning you don't need to tell them who you are, and you don't need to use a VPN. You can just sign up and start trading up to 100x leverage here on Solana, get up to $10,000 in bonuses, and participate in a $500,000 Casper airdrop just by trading. So go check it out down in the description below. A ton of value there. Now, let's start off with going over what we are seeing recently from Solana, how it's holding up as an ecosystem before we do move into Solana's individual price itself. Well, what we can see here is that from a TVL perspective, Solana is still holding up extremely well. The Solana ecosystem is currently sat at about 4.78 billion, having recently cleared the $5 billion mark, but not quite holding up at that level. Now, if you had just seen this, you would think that Solana was having a pretty good month. But what I would say is that Solana actually had a bit of a rough month last month. What you can see here is that overall number of new addresses dropped substantially. Things were getting really exciting, and over the last few months, we were seeing 20, 30, 40 million new addresses per month on Solana, with it dramatically dropping to around 11 million just last month. And in the same time, what you can see is that in terms of transactions and things of that nature, all of these things started to drop a little bit. New addresses dropped, number of active addresses dropped, non-vote transactions dropped, non-vote transactions on the Solana network on a monthly basis dropped. I mean, we saw a rather strong drop off, which did also lead to, of course, weekly Solana transaction fees dropping, revenue dropping, a lot of those things in the month of August. But whenever you say that, obviously what you would think, just looking at these numbers, you think, oh, that's a terrible month for Solana. Not really. The ecosystem itself, although it generated some less revenue, there were a lot less users. The people who are here, the people who are trading, the ones who are transacting are still here. And that just goes to show in a moment in which we are seeing TVL being able to maintain in a month in which Solana as an ecosystem isn't performing as well in terms of revenue, new addresses, in terms of growth. I think it's a good sign, right? Obviously, you're going to have these months in which things are going to drop off. Obviously, you're going to have months in which things are going to get ugly, especially when the macro market is looking a little bit rough. But Solana's been able to sustain its current levels in terms of TVL, which is the overall, basically the way in which you can look at the size of its ecosystem. And I think that's a good thing, because you always have to be the most careful whenever things start getting a little ugly. Maybe NFT hype dies down, or maybe excitement itself dies down, and then TVL starts to dry up. People are just leaving the ecosystem. They were only there for a moment, and they're just going to go chase the next big thing. That's not what we're seeing with Solana, and that's a good thing, because people always say Solana is just short-term hype, it's just a meme chain and all these things. People aren't leaving when times get ugly. That's not what happens in a short-term hyped up meme chain. That's just not the case. And so I did really like to see this, and I was a little bit anxious to see what happened with Solana, especially in terms of TVL this month, as we did start to see some of these different metrics dropping off in terms of revenue. We also got news that NFT sales did slow down a lot on Solana in general, coming in at 78 million, being second to Ethereum, in which we have seen times in which these numbers have been real close. And so again, the fact that we are seeing TVL sustain even in a month like we just saw, I think is a very, very good thing. Now, moving on to Solana's price itself, what we can see is that from a macro perspective, before we get into these buy signals, we are currently seeing its price still sustaining on top of this macro 786 level. Now, what we can see here is that Solana over the last few months has been building up a key level of support on top of this macro 618 to 786 box, in which we cleared back in March of 2024. And so the fact that we're still holding up on top of this level, we're still finding some support, we're still seeing Solana overall do well here, I think is a very good sign. I've told you all consistently that if Solana can maintain this level and use it to continue upwards, this is enough of a foundation. This is a support level that can get Solana's price up to $300, $400, $500. And so the fact that we're doing it, again, another good sign. So even through a rough month like August, we are still seeing some good signs for Solana, and that's a good thing in general. Now, looking at this massive buy signal that just printed off, what we can see here is that we just got a buy zone print on the daily charts for the first time since April of 2024. What you can see here is the last time we got a buy zone print was right back here, right before Solana's price made this beautiful move to the upside of 44%. The time before that, in which we saw this move, we saw a beautiful move of 154%. The time before that, guys, we saw the bottom bottom of this move right here before we went up 280%. And the time before that, we saw this beautiful move before we saw a pump of over 93%. These buy zones go off at some of the absolute best times in history for Solana. And the fact that this is happening right now is a crazy good sign. And so this does further drive me to think that although Solana did have a rough month, the fact that its TVL is holding up, the fact that we are seeing its price hold up and maintain support, and the fact that we are getting buy zones printing as we're approaching this macro zonal support tells me that this is still a good time for Solana, that we're still here, we're still strong, and we still have the ability to make that move to the upside like I think we could sometime maybe towards the end of this year, more likely towards next year. And so with that said, guys, don't forget these buy zone indicators are the indicator that I myself and my company designed, but they're not available quite yet. We're making some changes. We're launching the V2 pretty soon here. So if you do want to be able to access these buy zone signals, you can in just a couple, like about a week to 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you do subscribe so you can see the updates that I post whenever this does go live. But the proof is in the pudding. Look at the performances every single time recently that these buy zone signals go off. It's insanely good. And so with that said, I'm definitely more and more bullish about Solana. The lower we get, the more buying that I am doing. I am still dollar cost averaging here, even though my average cost is around $32 now. Slowly rising. It was like 26. Now it's up to 32. But my my position's way bigger than it was back then. So I am okay with my average cost raising. And so let me know what you think down below. What's your average cost for Solana right now? Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you shorting? Are you longing? If you are shorting, if you are longing, make sure you go check out Margex down below. Again, don't forget, up to $10,000 in bonuses, no KYC, no VPN necessary, and you get up to $500,000 in Casper airdrop. So go check all that out down below and let me know in the comments, what are you doing now? You guys know I like to reply to every single comment as possible, so make sure we have a little conversation down there if you wanna, and I can't wait to see you all in the next catch up. Peace out, everybody.